My husband's family treated me like a servant until I decided to change the rules. Hey Reddit, I need to vent and honestly I could use some advice too. This happened last weekend and I'm still processing it. So here's what went down. I 30F have been married to Richard 32M for 3 years. Our marriage hasn't been perfect, but it hasn't been bad either. We've had our ups and downs, but nothing major. That was until last weekend when we had a family dinner at our place. We invited Richard's parents, Paul and Carol, his brother, Mark, and his wife, Anna. I spent all day cooking because I wanted to make the house feel warm and welcoming. I'm not a professional chef, but I love making a good meal for people I care about. I made prime rib, garlic butter shrimp, scalloped potatoes, and homemade bread. Basically, it was the best meal I could put together. When they arrived, things were off. As usual, Paul Richard's dad made some backhanded comment like, "You really lucked out with a wife who cooks and cleans, huh?" I smiled through it. I had gotten used to comments like that. The night went on, and we were all about to eat when something strange happened. I sat down at the table, ready to dig in. But as I was about to sit down, Paul reached across me, grabbed my plate, and handed it to Mark. He said, "You eat after the My mouth literally dropped open, and I thought, this has to be a joke. But no, it wasn't. Richard didn't say anything. He just looked at me like, "Please don't make a scene." Instead of reacting, I stayed silent. I sat there staring at my plate, my stomach sinking. Mark and Paul dug into their food while I just waited. Richard, of course, didn't say anything either. So I spent the rest of dinner quietly simmering. I knew I wasn't going to let this slide. It wasn't just disrespectful, it was cruel. I wasn't going to let this be the new normal in my own home. First update, the next morning I woke up early, still fuming. I decided that I wasn't going to just sit quietly and let this slide. I sent out a text. "Dinner at our place again next Sunday, my treat." Richard looked at me like I had two heads. "Another dinner? Are you sure?" "You were pretty quiet last night," he said. I smiled a little too sweetly. "I just want to make sure your family knows how much I appreciate them." The next Sunday, I went all out. I made prime rib again, garlic butter shrimp, scalloped potatoes, roasted asparagus, everything I could think of to make it a meal they would never forget. When everyone arrived, I noticed something strange. The men sat first again. They didn't ask, they just sat down. As they reached for their plates, I stood up, walked over, and took their plates from under them one by one. Then I handed them to the women, Carol, Anna, and me. "You eat after the women," I said in the same calm tone Paul had used last week. The silence was immediate. Paul's jaw tightened. Mark just scoffed. Richard looked at me like I had lost my mind, but I wasn't backing down. I said, "It's tradition," with a smile. For a moment, no one said anything. But then Carol, Richard's mom, picked up her fork slowly. Anna did the same. Mark's face turned red. I didn't rush. I took my time with my meal. I felt a sense of power I hadn't felt before. When I finished, I leaned back and said, "Since the women cooked, the men can do the dishes." Second update. The next few hours were tense. After everyone left, Richard and I sat in the kitchen. He didn't say anything right away, but the silence was thick. Finally, he spoke up. "What the hell was that?" I looked at him, calm as ever. "Dinner?" He gave a humorless laugh. "You humiliated my dad?" I raised an eyebrow. "Did I? Or did I just show him what it feels like to be on the other side?" He stared at me, clearly frustrated. "You made everyone uncomfortable." I shrugged. "Good. I don't understand why you had to make it a whole thing." I slammed my hand on the counter. "Oh, so it was fine when your dad did it to me, but when I do the exact same thing, suddenly it's a problem." That's when everything clicked. "This isn't just about a dinner, Richard. This is about how you let your family treat me. This is about how your father treats your mother, how he treats Anna, and how you let it happen. How you expect me to just sit there and be quiet like it's normal." Richard was silent, but his face told me everything I needed to know. For the first time, I felt like I wasn't just fighting for me. I was fighting for every woman in that family. Final update. After that night, things didn't immediately get better. Richard was distant, unsure of where to stand. He was torn between his wife and his father. But over the next few days, there was a shift. He started questioning his own family dynamics. Then, 2 days later, Anna called. I could tell something had changed in her voice. "I just wanted to say thank you," she said quietly, "for standing up for showing me that I'm not crazy for thinking this isn't normal." She had been dealing with Mark's control and her own silent suffering for years. Anna wasn't the kind of person to speak out, but after seeing how I handled everything, she realized that she didn't have to put up with it anymore. Then came the phone call from Richard's dad. He was furious, accusing me of poisoning Richard and embarrassing him in front of the family. I wasn't afraid of his threats anymore. I calmly told Paul, "If you think your son is weak, maybe you should ask yourself who raised him that way." And then something remarkable happened. Richard, in front of his father, made a choice. He stood by me. He told Paul that he wasn't going anywhere. That was the moment I knew things were changing, not just for me, but for all the women in Richard's family. Anna eventually filed for divorce and Carol left Paul. It wasn't easy, but it was a start. Richard and I are still working through things, but I know we've shifted the power in our marriage. I'll never again let anyone make me feel like and maybe, just maybe, the ripple effect of standing up for yourself can change everything. Edit, thank you all for your supportive messages. I never thought I'd be in a position to make such a bold choice, but I'm glad I did. I know this was the right decision, for me, for Richard, and for Anna. I'll keep you all updated if anything changes.